Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Adekola Oyeronke Adenike. I'm from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria. I'm here to present a paper titled Perceived Effects of Soil Degradation and Coping Strategies Among Arable Crop Farmers in Atisbo local government area of Oyo State. Introduction. Environmental issues. In Nigeria, there has been a lot of environmental issues. There have been one of the variabilities that is facing our environment. So soil degradation on this account can be defined as the increase in world wild ranges in different countries within the tropics. What are the causes of these environmental issues? The first one is deforestation of fragile land, overcutting of vegetation, shifting cultivation, overgrazing, unbalanced fertilizer use, and non-adoption of soil conservation management practices, among others. The statement of problem. Deforestation and soil erosion, according to IGOZE, represent significant environmental issues in the humid forested regions of the South, while the primary concerns in the arid northern areas pertain to escalating desertation and sporadic droughts. Consequently, it has been essential to assess the perceived impact of soil degradation and the coping strategies employed by arable crop farmers in Atisbo local government area of Oyo State. The objectives of the study, I have six objectives here. The first one is to describe the socioeconomic characteristics of the farmers, to determine the causes of soil degradation, to describe the arable crop farmers' perceived effect of soil degradation, to ascertain the coping strategies practices adopted in controlling soil degradation, then to describe the trend of crop yield of the farmer in the study area, and lastly, to determine the constraints facing the farmers in adopting the coping strategy practices. The hypothesis. The hypothesis of the study have two hypotheses. The first hypothesis is there's no significant relationship between the socioeconomic characteristics of the farmers and perceived effects of soil degradation. And the second hypothesis is there is no significant relationship between the causes of soil degradation and the coping strategy practices among arable crop farmers. The sampling technique and sample size. For this study, a multi-stage sampling procedure was adopted to arrive at the required number of respondents for the study. Purposive selection of Atisbo local government area of Oyo State was used because of the preeminence of arable farming in the area. Then the selection, we had 50% out of the seven major towns in Atisbo local government area of Oyo State. Atisbo is a local government area in Oyo State, and we are considering using seven towns in this local government area. So each of the town has a population of, we have the first one to be 528, 315, 228, and 196 as their household size. Then there's a random selection of 10% of households in each to give a total of 128 respondents. So for this study, 128 respondents will be used. Then the data collected was also analyzed using descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. Then the results and discussion. For the first table, which is the distribution respondents based on the socioeconomic characteristics, for this first table, we have most of the respondents were within the age bracket of 51 to 60 with a mean age of 55, where we have male respondents to be 91.4% and the married happens to be 80.5% with the average of 16 years of farming experience, which is an indication that they have an experience, we have experienced farmers within this age brackets which are dominated by male. Then the continuation of the table one also reveals it also reveals that most respondents were Christians. We have the percentage to be 47.7% with an average household size of six, and many which falls within the age range of which falls within the percentage of 35% has no formal education while 27.3% were able to attain their secondary education, which indicates their moderate level of literacy. Then the second table, which has to do with the distribution of respondents according to perceived effect of soil degradation in the area. This table reveals that most respondents acknowledged that soil degradation reduces grazing land, and they also agreed that crop rotation practices helps to maintain soil fertility, showing a good awareness of soil degradation effects in this study area. Then the results and discussion, which is also a continuation of it, reveals that the level of perceived effect of soil degradation in the area were categorized on the basis of low level and high level. And with this table, it could show that majority, which has a percentage of 60.2% of the respondents, has a high level of perception on soil degradation, while 39.8% of the respondents also have a low level of perception of soil degradation in the area. Then the third table, which is the distribution of respondents according to coping strategies as a control measure to soil degradation. These are the variables that were measured. We have crop rotation, the agroforestry, shifting cultivation, planting of cover crops, among others. So this reveals that 53.9% of them practices of the farmers, which were the respondent, the arable crop farmers, as practices crop rotation, crop rotation. Then the fourth table, which is the distribution of respondents in constraints facing the farmers in adopting coping strategies practices in the area. These were also measured. These were the variables that were measured, the constraints: unfavorable land tenure system, lack of incentives, cultural barriers. These were major constraints that the farmers itemized. And the very severe ones among these were the ones with the lack of, the ones with inadequate finances, among others. Then hypothesis testing. The results of the hypothesis, table 5, which is the association between the personal characteristics of the farmers and the perceived effect of soil degradation. This reveals that the religion and educational qualification were significant to the study. The findings therefore implies that sex and marital status do not influence perceived effect of soil degradation. Then table 6, which also reveals the relationship between the causes of soil degradation and coping strategy practices among arable crop farmers. This finding shows that there is no significant relationship between the causes of soil degradation and the coping strategies. However, relationship is negative, which implies that farmers' involvement in coping strategies reduces the causes of soil degradation. In conclusion, it was observed that the farmers actively use coping strategies in controlling soil degradation, which reveals that farmers are aware of these major constraints that are happening in their environment. Then secondly, deforestation of fragile land, overcutting of vegetation, shifting cultivation, overgrazing, unbalanced fertilizer use, and non-adoption of soil conservation management practices, overpumping of groundwater in excess of capacity for recharge are some of the factors that have been, affecting the farmers in this area, and as a result, it results into soil erosion. Recommendation. We have three recommendations here. The first recommendation shows that the government and non-governmental agencies and also the community leaders should try as much as possible to intensify efforts at educating the farmers on the need to adequately use the land without hampering the land. Then secondly, each and everyone should also be encouraged to protect their surroundings by planting of flowers and trees rather than opening the surrounding for erosion to wash away the top nutrients. And thirdly, farmers should be engaged to practice crop rotation techniques more and cross-fertilization, which should be more intensified among the farmers. This will serve to help, which will help to reduce incidents of deforestation and the rest. In response to all of this, these are my selected references that were used for the study. Thank you so much for listening.